Working hard at the steering wheel, you can see just juggling the car.
This is me. Sim racer for 3 years and lover of power and performance for many years prior. Growing up as a kid, I always said I wanted to be a race car driver, but unlike a lot of others, that never changed. Now, I'm pushing as hard as I can to take the step from the virtual to the physical. This is my race to reality.
It's lights out and away we go!
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's episode of Race to Reality, the very first one in the series. How exciting. So today we're going to be covering my very first time in a race car. As you can see, we'll be driving a Formula Ford car. We did this up at the Wanneroo Raceway in Perth. And you can see we're just getting strapped in here. Now in the morning we had a nice orientation where we went about, we looked at some cars, including the green BP Formula Ford that Daniel Ricciardo, the Honey Badger himself, learns to drive in. So we've had our orientation, our safety induction in terms of getting the seatbelt off and putting the wheel on. As you can see here, it's the first time on the throttle. Away we go. Now it's worth noting in these cars that the gear shift is basically wedged against your leg on the right hand side. You might be able to see it at certain points. You can't see it from this angle here. And then the clutch is on the left. You got your brake pedal in the middle as usual. And yeah, so we're actually in the pit lane now. We're going to take you on a lap around Wanneroo. Now the way that the initial orientation worked was such that we had the guy who actually runs the place, Brett, I believe his name was, in the car ahead. And we're in a group of 4 cars. Now, we shared the car with 3 other drivers, and the way the day works is we would have ourselves this, our basically safety car period, and then we'd come in, have a break, go back out later on for our first practice set of laps, where we'd go ahead and try and get up our own footing. Then later on, we'd have our third session, which would be called the qualifying session, which really only determines the order that you go out for in the race session, where your main goal is to string together a series of consistent laps to give you the best aggregate time. So you can see here, we come into the second sector, or towards the end of the second sector here, as we've dubbed it. They don't actually have the sectors on the track, but I've dubbed this one the end of the second sector, start of the third sector. We come through the penultimate corner already, so it's a short lap time. Flying, you're looking at about somewhere between the 56s and the 58s, if you can get a good one down. And then coming through the final right-hand corner, you can see we have little braking marks on the left-hand side, just since it's our first time in the car. And as we come down, we get this wonderful shot of ourselves following the safety car there, and out with the other cars on the track. And so here we go, starting our first ever flying lap. You can see we maybe broke a little bit late starting on that one, so we didn't get the best run possible. As we come under the Perth Bridge, there is the start-finish line. Here for the first corner, braking at the braking mark, about a car length before the end of the blue barrier on the left. And we carry a bit too much speed through, and we get a little bit loose in the rear end there. So I took a moment to shake off, think, damn, I made it one corner and then I nearly spun the car. Brilliant. But yeah, moving forward, we come up here now to the top of the hill as we continue on with our first lap. Now I'm thinking, okay, no, it's alright. Get back in the zone, stop pushing again a little bit. So you can see we trail braking a little bit through this right-hander. We're still taking a bit light. Not really figuring out what gears to be in yet. This would end up being a second gear hold. And then through third gear, fourth gear. So you come down to the final corner on the brakes and through the right-hander, not carrying too much speed because we're still just getting acclimated. And that is our first ever lap in a Formula Ford. I'm just sticking my hand up there because he's telling me to brake a bit more. And you can see here, maybe a little bit late on the brakes. We lose the rear end a little bit coming in, and we just keep it on the track as we go for the right-hander. So that was definitely something So here we go then, we're about to start our final qualifying lap. So I'm showing you the best lap that we had in the qualifying session. It could have been quicker, to be honest, but we had to let this guy through because he was blitzing it up a bit, and we weren't really pushing to other prior laps. You see I let off there a little bit early, just to build some space because I was a little bit nervous about going into the back of him and having to pay for the four-wheeler Ford car. So our first sector here is an 18.48, which it's not too competitive. As we come through the left-hander, then into the top of the hill. This was a really nice corner, to be honest. If you got it together, it was brilliant. And you can see there, we were just nice and tight on that apex there. Coming through the left-hander, end of sector 2, 18.72. So an alright sector, come through the right-hander. There's only the one corner that we really have to worry about through there. And then we come into the final corner. Braking, nice and confidently. Taking the apex as best we can. Coming out. And a sprint down the line. What is it going to be? It's going to be a 58.8 with a last sector of 21.6. So that is our best time of the session. And that just about wraps up our qualifying.
Smile for the camera.
And that was our car chief. He was a brilliant guy. But here we go. We're about to jump onto our first lap of the race session. So we've just completed our out lap. Here we go then. This is where all the beans come through. You get ranked at the end of it also. Wonderful flyby there shot. As we come through the right-hander, we're looking to try and graze that apex as best as possible. Maybe a little bit sluggish on the exit there. We come through the end of the first sector, and already you can see a 17.56 is much better than what we had in our qualifying session by nearly a second already. So you can see just the impact that the other car had there. Coming through here, the right-hander, taking a wider line, not really hitting that apex the way we want to, so it definitely can still improve there. Through the left-hander, end of sector 2, 18.76, so a little bit slower, but only by 0.04 of a second that time through. And as we come down to the final corner, through the right-hander, braking nice and confidently, taking the apex, pushing out to the outside curb, nice and smoothly. What is it going to be? It is going to be a 57.92, so already a second quicker. 21.6, identical final sector time as we start our second lap now. Through the right-hander, we go. We're pushing a bit more steering input now as well. These are very resilient tires, so it's not really much of an impact there. As we come through the end of the first sector, 17.06 already. Actually, no, sorry, it's a 17.00, so doing a great job there in that first sector. Almost a 16-second first sector, so that's really good. Going through the second sector then, nice and tight on that apex, doing a good job. And going through the left-hander then, second sector is an 18.36, so we've bettered both our first and second first sector. And there's not really too much room for improvement in this final sector. It is two corners, basically, one of them being led into from the second sector, so we can expect a similar time. As we come through the right-hander then, pedal to the metal, down we go. What is it going to be? It is a 56.96, identical final sector. So we come through turn 1 again. Looking to be a bit more confident on the throttle this time, and maybe a little bit too confident. We slip out, we just missed the cones there. But that did cost us a little bit of time there in the first sector for this lap then. As we come up, it is a 17.76 in the first sector. So our slowest sector so far of the race runs. As we come up, we come through the second sector, the top of the hill. Through the right-hander we go. Nice and tight this time. And we're looking to really tighten it up here. An 18.68 in the second sector, so that average. As we come down to the final corner now. Once again, braking nice and hard as we pass the marker. Good amount of steering input there, trying to really maximize the car through the corner. This one is going to be a 57.88 with a 21.44 in the final sector, because that was a lot better in the final sector then. So as we come through the right-hander, nice and smooth through there. That was a good line. As we come up here. Now, through here, we're only taking about 3/4 throttle because we were told not to go full throttle just because we were worried of a spin, perhaps. So, yeah, that's why there's definitely still more time in the car. But being the first time out, we didn't want to do anything stupid. So we come through the right-hander at the top of the hill for the final time as a driver. An 18.28, so that is our best Sector 2 time so far. So far, it's shaping up to be an alright lap. As we come down the hill, you can see we've actually gained on the car that was ahead of us by a fair amount. Through the right-hander we go. And we're going to duck our head down to get across the line, try and get as much time as possible. And 57.08. Now, I look at a time and I think, wow, how good was that? And you can see there's a bit of celebration going on there, because honestly, it was just an awesome day. It doesn't get much better than that. So here we are being presented with our best times. I got the second best aggregate of the day, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty sure the guy that was there before, I think he's... The guy in first, I think he's been there before. But I mean, it would be nice to get the trophy. But yeah, no, that was a brilliant day overall, and one of the best of my life. Well, that was Race to Reality Episode 1. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I cannot explain how much fun I had on this day, and yeah, it's my goal to be driving cars at least like these next year or the year after, so we're trying to push to make that a reality here. Now, quick throwback to the tote bag giveaway that we were doing. There was a slight oversight in the sense that I could only see about 4 or 5 of you that are subscribed because you don't have your subscriptions public. So what we're going to do instead is leave a comment below, and I'll pick one of you lucky commenters to get the tote bag with the logo on it. And if you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, subscribe. We'll be doing bi-weekly releases from now on. So, not next week, but the week after, we'll be having another video, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, I've been Cian. Thank you so much for watching.